Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Connor and I'm back with another Pokemon card deck review. This time I've got something that's a little bit more of a cheaper deck. It's a bit easier to play than the Vespa-Queen Yveltal deck that I did. But equally this deck is just as competitive, maybe kind of more downgraded, maybe just a little bit lower, but it's still overall a very fun deck. It's very effective in what it aims to carry out and do, and I've been playing this deck, or a variation of this deck, for a very long time now, since the main attacker was originally released. And yeah, it's seen a couple of different versions, but this is the version that I'm working with at the moment. And yeah, let's get right into it. The main concept of this deck revolves around Yveltal, and mainly Yveltal EX here. So it's a dark type Pokemon and it has 170 HP. We're mainly going to be focusing on Yveltal, which stacks damage, so it does 20 damage plus 20 more for each energy attached to both Pokemon, and then it also does 90, and then you can move an energy with 5 Cyclone. And it has a weakness to lightning and a resistance to fighting, which is pretty nice. That's going to be our main attacker, just stacking up a bunch of energy onto there and knocking stuff out. And then of course we can reserve energy if we really need to. But in order to get energy back after, Yveltal goes down or early game getting set up, we have another Yveltal, but this time it's not an EX, it's just a regular basic one. And we're going to be focusing on Oblivion Wing, which does 30 damage, and you get to attach a dark energy from your discard pile onto one of your bench Pokemon, which is also very effective. So we can just discard a bunch of dark energy early on, use Oblivion Wing and get them right back onto Yveltal EX, which is very nice and very quick, easy, great strategy. You get some early damage as well with it. To help switch between Yveltal and Yveltal EX here, I'm running 2 copies of Zoroark and 2 copies of Zoroark. So Zoroark's ability, Standing, lets him switch from the bench to the active position, and then with a card later on that you're going to see, we can give him free retreat, and that means that we can put him into the active and then have free retreat to switch into one of our other Pokemon that we want. And it also has a very good attack, which if your Pokemon has if your opponent has a lot of Pokemon on his bench, then you're going to be doing more damage for each of those and really punishing them for having a big bench, and it does a lot of damage for that, which is also very nice because it's a non-EX attacker, so you're only going to be giving up 1 prize card. And the thing that really makes this deck cheaper than a lot of the other decks is that it is not running Shaman EX. Instead we're running Octillery. So we're running a 2-2 line of Octillery, which is a 90 HP water Pokemon, stage 1. It has Abyssal Hand, which lets you draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. So it's 1 less than Shaman setup, but you can do it every single turn, whereas Shaman you have to play it down onto your bench from your hand. This you can do it every single turn. You can have 2 set up if you really need to, so you can do it multiple times, and it's not an EX, so even if your opponent does decide to knock it out, then you're only going to be giving up 1 prize. Plus the fact that it has 90 HP, it's very easy to search out with Level Ball. So yeah, overall it's a very easy deck to play. You get energy out, attach it to Yveltal. If your opponent has a large bench, you can do lots of damage with Zoroark. You can stand in retreat to get energy from your discard onto Yveltal, and all during that you can keep drawing cards with Abyssal Hand. It's very good at that. Just continually drawing through your deck, getting lots and lots of energy. So moving on to the main supporters and trainer cards of the deck to keep things running along smoothly. As with almost every deck now in the competitive scene, I'm running 4 Professor Sycamore. Discard your hand, draw 7. Still always going to be the best supporter no matter what. Even if you are running like 4 Shaman or 4 Artillery or something crazy to draw cards like that, this is always going to be the best draw card in the game. And to go along with that, I'm also running 2N, so you get to both players shuffle in their hands into their decks, and then you both draw the same number of cards equal to the amount of prizes you have. So it's very consistent in what you're going to be doing. If you're behind in prizes, so your opponent is taking more prize cards than you, then you're going to be putting them at a disadvantage and putting yourself at an advantage, which is very nice. And also late game, if you are running low of cards in your deck, then you can put some cards back in your deck with N, which is very useful. In addition, I'm running 2 Lysander. I just get to choose one of my opponent's Pokemon that are on their bench and bring it into the active. So if they get a lot of damage on them and choose to retreat, I can bring that back up and knock it out. Or if there's a threatening Pokemon on their bench, I can bring that up and take some damage onto that very quickly if I need to. Also playing a couple of more tech, one-off specific, situational supporters. And I'm running 1 Giovanni's Scheme. I get to either do 20 extra damage for my active attacking Pokemon, which is very useful if I'm only hitting just the right amount to miss out on knocking, say, a Shaman EX out, or if I'm just missing out just enough damage so I can do the extra 20 with this, which is very useful in those specific situations, which is why I have 1 copy. Or if I'm very desperate, I can use the other effect, which is draw until I have 5 cards in my hand, which is nice and it's an option, but it's mainly for the additional 20 damage if I need it. And I'm also running a Hex Maniac. Hex Maniac shuts off all abilities for my turn and then going into my opponent's turn as well, which is very good for Trevenant decks, or shutting off early game. If your opponent has Shaman EXs, you can play it turn 1 and shut off those Shaman EXs, which is good. And then unlike my Yveltal Vespucci deck, which didn't run any of these because it shuts off items, the majority of other competitive decks, if you're already aware, are going to be playing 4 Via Seeker. You get a supporter card from your discard pile, put it into your hand, so I can get back any of these, and that's why we have one-off copies. I can just grab them out of my discard pile whenever I need them, which is very useful. But getting on to the other trainer cards that are going to be helping us get our Pokemon out and help us discard energy or do extra damage. So first of all, we're going to be running 4 copies of Ultra Ball and 2 copies of Level Ball, so we can get anything with this. And Level Ball, you don't have to discard anything like Ultra Ball. You can just search out a Zora or Remoraid or Artillery, which is very nice in specific situations where you need those to get set up. I'm also running 2 Professor's Ladder, as this is a very energy heavy deck and we want to get lots of energy into play. I'm running 2 of these to search out 2 basic dark energy from the deck, and I can discard them with an Ultra Ball if I need to. So I'll just search out 2 energy, discard them with Ultra Ball, and then get them back with Oblivion Wing, like the strategy that I discussed. So that's very useful. Going on to a couple of tools that we have, running 3 copies of Fighting Fury Belt, which does, when it's attached to one of your Pokemon, so usually we're going to attach it to Yveltal EX, so we're going to get to have 10 extra damage, so our Evil Ball is now doing 30 plus the energy, and we'll also get plus 40 HP, so this 170 HP goes up to 210, which is very difficult to knock out, and it puts us at a great advantage against decks that are not knocking us out in one hit, or it takes their knockouts from 2 hits to 3 hits, which is very useful. And as I mentioned earlier, for Zoroark, we're going to be running 2 Floatstone to give our Pokemon free retreat. And if we don't have a Zoroark set up, it's also very useful to put onto a Octillery and give that free retreat instead. I'm also going to be running 1 Startling Megaphone, which discards all of my opponent's tools that they have attached, so all of their muscle bands or Fighting Fury belts or Floatstones, whatever they might have, they'll just get discarded, which is very useful. We're also running 1 Sacred Dash, so you get to shuffle up to 5 Pokemon from your discard pile back into your deck, which is great if you late game knocked out a couple of your Pokemon and you can get them back, or if you had to discard them for whatever reason to get your Ultra Ball discards or whatever, you can use Sacred Dash to get those Pokemon back. I'm also running 1 Escape Rope, which is really great because it basically acts as a Lysander but without using your supporter for the turn, so you get to force your opponent to bring something else out that they don't want out, while you can use Floatstone to free retreat and it doesn't hurt you whatsoever. Or if you don't have a Floatstone out yet, then Escape Rope really helps you out there. I'm also running 2 Reverse Valley, which boosts Dark Pokemon's attacks by 10 damage. The other side reduces metal damage by 10, so we're obviously always going to use the dark side, and yeah, it's going to boost our attacks by 10. It makes us hit for really great numbers because if you know, Muscle Band increases Pokemon's attacks by 20, but Fighting Fury Belt only does it by 10. So by using Reverse Valley, it puts us back up to doing plus 20 with attacks, but we also get the benefit of plus 40 HP, which is great. And of course there's a lot of weaknesses to the deck, which is mainly just lightning, so we can stop that with Shadow Circle, which I'm currently running 3 of. You could probably cut them completely and just run like one over here and put like 3 Reverse Valley instead, but I think Shadow Circle is still very useful. It definitely has its place in the deck. I just don't think you could need quite so many, but that is what I'm running at the moment and it seems to be working just fine. And yeah, moving on to the energy. Of course, it's a crucial part of any deck, but this deck relying so heavily on the energy counts, we're going to be running a lot of it. So starting off, running 4 double colourless energy. So Yveltal is going to be doing extra, so you're doing like 20 plus for the base and then also 20 for the dark energy, and then you use double colourless, it's going to be doing 20 for each of them, which is great for adding up your damage. And then I'm also running 3, 6, 7 dark energy, so in total we've got 11 energy, which is more than enough for Yveltal EX's Yveltal or Y-Cyclone with a dark and double colourless. And of course Zoroark's attack only requires double colourless, so you're going to be putting out a lot of damage with this deck no matter what strategy you use. And of course you can always mix up the numbers of the Pokemon in the deck or the item cards that you use if you really want to. I think the main suggestion or kind of change that I would make to the deck is that I'm running 3 of these Oblivion Wing Yveltal. I'd probably change one of them for the Fright Night Yveltal, which makes it so that it has an ability where it shuts off all Pokemon tool cards if it's active, and it also has an attack which costs 1 dark and 2 colourless, where it does 60 damage to the defending Pokemon and 60 to one of your opponent's benched EX Pokemon, which is great for setting up knockouts. And yeah, that's probably the only real change that I'd make to the deck, but other than that, it's a very cheap deck to put together if you use Octillery instead of Shaman, and it's definitely a very fun deck to play, just doing lots and lots of damage. But I'll see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed, and subscribe for more.